I'll call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. And I will read the remote participation guidelines. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open space meeting law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, the various boards and committees representing the town of Grafton will conduct their public meetings and hearings via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted. Is that sufficient, Joanne? Do I need to read more? Just if you're a visitor,
I think you're okay.
We ask that you identify yourself, maybe your town, because I know there's some out-of-town folks going to be on. And then everyone's really been quite good about taking turns and raising hands, or literally raising hands to get attention. So we will start with the introduction of the
John, you do have to take roll call.
Oh, sorry. I get that paper. So I'm going to start with roll call. Jen Thomas is absent. John Stevens present. Kristen Belanger.
Here.
Justin Wood.
Here.
Paul Scarlett.
Here.
Ken Holberger.
Here.
Jim Gallagher.
Here.
Sandy Brock.
Here.
Brooke Paget.
Here.
Okay, so we've got almost everybody present. Now I will introduce Evan Broussard, and am I saying that correctly?
Yep.
He's the new town administrator. I've not met you, but welcome to Community Preservation Committee. We like to think it's the best committee in town. We get to fund projects that make Grafton a better place to live. And so it's a win-win with what we do. So please introduce yourself. And
sure. Thank you for having me. You're certainly the best committee that I've been on Zoom with all day. So that's good. I'm from Munson, Mass, originally, which is where I still live. We are a CPC community here as well. I have done CPC projects for the past 7 years in Munson, so I'm pretty familiar with CPA and how all of that works. I've done everything. I've done a lot of historic restoration. I've done quite a bit of community recreation projects, playgrounds, open space. Not a lot of housing. We were actually just doing our first housing project when I decided to move to Grafton, which was we took an abandoned house property. We were knocking it down and then donating the property, or doing an RFP really for $1 to give it to Habitat for Humanity to have them build a house on the same footprint. Housing was more difficult and in less demand in Munson than it is in Grafton, certainly. So a little less experience there, but I have done quite a bit, and I've really enjoyed those experiences, especially the historic preservation. That's kind of my area that I like to play in.
great. No, I think we've found the same thing, that the open space recreation projects naturally come to us. Historic preservations naturally come to us. But we've had a affordable housing trust that has been working for quite some time. With our help, got an affordable housing plan in place. Now the problem is money, because all those others, it's a lot easier to leverage money, and it's a lot easier to do projects that are $10,000, $50,000, even $500,000. But when the projects are multi-million dollars, it's quite difficult, and it's been quite difficult for them to even find sites in town to build affordable housing. That it's been a very challenging effort for them. But I think we're slowly, with the new project on Pine Street, going to see some affordable housing, and I'm not real sure what will happen on Upton Street, if that will materialize as planned, but those will be two huge projects that will go a long way in getting more affordable units in Grafton.
Absolutely. Does anybody have any questions for me or thoughts?
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Andy Deschaines has been talking to you a lot about a project that we funded for the historic common that we have
Yes.
in town. So appreciate your efforts there.
Yeah, so I've been working with William Blake on that. William's kind of spearheading all of our procurement. So between the three of us, we're looking at your it's called sole source procurement of the lights, so to get the lights, the look that you want for different things there. So yeah, that should be a real fun project too.
Yes, it's going to be an exciting spring on the common with the library and that project for sure.
Yeah.
Spring and into summer.
Yeah.
And also up at the new DPW site.
Okay. Did CPC fund anything at DPW, or you're just saying in general DPW
No,
being
just
new?
a lot of activity building.
Yeah. I
new.
did. I was able to tour that my first day here. That's a very impressive facility. I think you can fit probably 4 of the Munson Highway garages in that one garage. So it was pretty. It was.
Did you meet that guy with the big beard?
I did. Yeah. It was a little sketchy at first, but
No, stay
After-
sketchy.
So no, it was. I had a great time up there. Really nice crew and nice people working there, and we had a nice conversation. So.
Did they give you a tour of the old facility, Evan?
They did not. I've only seen it from across the street or on the different plans from, what is it, GSX, that has a bid or proposal. So
You will
But,
quickly see how
yeah,
much it was needed when you see
yeah,
it.
absolutely. You can appreciate why that needed to happen. So, but so far, Grafton, I'm really enjoying it. You have a lot of historic areas, a lot of history there to explore, which is kind of what I like to do. And when I can get away from my desk here and there, I do like to try to find those places. So it's been great.
Awesome. We're excited to have you.
Thank you.
Well, welcome to Grafton. Hopefully, I'm sure you'll cross paths with a lot of us, because a lot of these people are on other committees or many other committees. So I'm sure we'll slowly all get to know each other, and we do appreciate you coming and taking the reins and getting things back in order.
Yeah, we're working on it. So we all look forward to working with you. Like I said, CPC is one of the more enjoyable committees, all kidding aside. And, I think we can really do some impactful things in the community with those funds. So very much looking forward to it. And on that note, if no one has any other questions for me, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, when you move to the next item, I will jump off. I've got a 4-year-old that's slowly tapping at the door over here. So I think I'm on bedtime duty. So.
Okay. I want to ask one quick question.
Absolutely.
In Munson, for your CPC projects, did you put up signs? How did you recognize that? Because that's something that we've kind of slowly come into, what we have a kind of a standardized sign that has worked for the most part for most of the projects, but just curious as what you do.
Yes, we had a sign. I probably actually have a picture of it somewhere, but it was just, kind of your generic white and green, this project funded by Munson CPC, blah, 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 blah. And we didn't have one for really, they traveled basically. So we would put it up, leave it there for usually about 2 years after the project was funded. Then we would yank that one and put it at another site that we were just breaking ground on. And that way there, we didn't, they weren't sign fatigue everywhere, but we did have a number of them that we would put up, or even if they were kind of a private facility doing historic renovation work, we would insist that was one of the criteria, because you do want the residents to know where their money is going, even if they're not necessarily paying enough attention to be on these type of meetings. So
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Go take care of your little guy, little girl. I'm not sure.
Well,
Little
God bless you.
girl, do you have a sign already?
We do. We've
Okay.
it's kind of evolved into the granite posts on either side and a carved wooden sign that is has the name of the site and then acknowledges CPA or CPC and whatever other funding sources there might be for that project. So
All right.
they're fairly. I'm trying to think of one that's. Do you come in off the Mass Pike,
I do, yeah.
off of the former exit 11?
Epclaw?
Yes.
Ekbla?
But Ekbla has a different kind of a sign. They used a huge rock and put a big bronze kind of sign on it, which was kind of a nice. But we also put up, I think it has swans on it on the street.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ekbal Landing has a granite post sign.
So it has two, but one of them, I guess, gives you more of the history because it was a historical site as well. And so
Okay.
it was kind of about the history of the family. And there was a fruit stand, I believe, that was there. And
No, neat.
it's now a canoe launch.
Okay. I will have to stop and check it out.
You can see this right before you get to Stop and Shop on your right.
Keep in mind, Joanne is the one that carried that big boulder over.
I have no doubt. I have no doubt.
Go take care of your 4-year-old.
All right. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate
Thank
you
you.
inviting me and have a great night.
Nice to meet you.
Well,
Nice to meet you all as well.
Okay. Ken, you want to do the treasurer's report?
Sure. Can you guys all see this?
Yes.
Okay, this is fiscal 2021. That is the fiscal year that we're in. It ends at the end of June. So we don't have the ending numbers for it, but we just have the estimates that we used going in. I'd like to call your attention to one thing on this. Let's see this row right here. The emergency rental assistance that we voted back in, when was that? That we voted in October. It had a short expiration date on it. The program is now ended, and it only used about $30,000 of the $225,000 that we had that was granted for that. So we had a return of $195,000 at the end of February, and that's shown on this line here, right there. So that's good news. So that brings the budgeted reserve estimate up to $326,000. And to go to the end, here is the summary of the summary. It shows that we came into the year from last year with $436,000. We added 637, so that gave us $1 million to work with this year. So far, our bond payments are 145. We have made grants variously of $441,000. The administration expenses are there. So we expect to leave the fiscal year with $463,000. So moving on to this upcoming year that starts on July 1st. The new town accountant, also from Munson, as it turns out, and I have been working together for a couple of weeks to try to figure out what all has been happening on the accounting front while the personnel have been making transitions. And we've come together, and we now have agreed that we're going to make an estimate next year for a surcharge revenue estimate of $517,000 for this upcoming year, and we're going to make a conservative 22% of last year's surcharge estimate for the state match. We don't really need, we used to do 20,000 for interest, but it's sort of been 18 now, so we're going to use 18. So that leaves $646,000 of new revenue added to the number that I told you about a moment ago. So this is our administration reserve. These are all going to be in the warrant this spring. The 10% reserves, the $24,000 for admin. We're going to take the 2 bond payments out of revenue this year. It's payment number 13 of 20 and 7 of 20. So we're making progress. So that leaves $286,000 is going to be the number for the warrant article for the budgeted reserve. So we have already spoken about the Lions Club rehab project, and this is the number we've been carrying for that. And we've talked about Whitney Park, and there's still, if we did the proposal as we discussed it most recently, it would be $83,000. And the weed investigation for Hovey Pond, we talked about $17,000. And so to summarize that, those grants would add up to $340,000. The bond payments, $142,000. And so that would be $500,000 out of the $1,000,001 that we talked about. So that would leave us with $600,000 left. And so we basically, the bottom line is we have enough money to do most anything that the committee would care to.
Okay.
Any questions?
I don't have any.
Nothing.
Does anyone else have a question?
Just that
Change.
I didn't catch anything that may have changed since February, but was there anything besides what was explicitly called out that changed since February?
No, it was really just the closeout of the $200,000 for the affordable housing. Rather, excuse me, in the affordable housing that came from the rental project.
Okay.
And then the other numbers we have tightened them up a little bit as the 2021 closing is getting closer. It's kind of late. It was July of last year and it hasn't closed yet, but that's due to personnel problems, and those are all being slowly resolved.
Make a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have any discussion? Hearing none. Joanne, do I need to still say Jen, even though we know she's not here for the roll call?
No.
Okay, all right. John Stevens, aye. Kristen,
Aye.
Justin,
Aye.
Paul,
Paul, you're muted.
oh, Scarlett,
All right, thank you for the
muted.
reminder. Aye.
Ken,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Sandy,
Aye.
Brooke.
Aye.
Motion carried unanimously. Thank you, Ken. Clerk's report. I know that we just got the report. I'm not sure if you guys are ready to vote on the minutes from February or not.
I reviewed them.
I
Okay,
reviewed them,
Yeah.
and I will say I'm actually very impressed with the level of detail Joanne put into these, so I appreciate it, and I wanted to say that out loud.
I
you.
second that
That's a good
notion.
minute,
That
too.
was amazing.
So can we make a motion to approve the excellence of Joanne?
So moved.
are you rolling that into the
You
minutes?
guys,
Too late. It's
Oh,
been
I
moved.
already
Second
made
it,
progress
guys. Second it.
with the rock.
So I have a motion and a second into the excellence of Joe.
oh, will you stop? Move it along. Move it along.
That'll be in the recording. You will have to put it
Yeah,
down.
yeah, you have to document this. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes as
moved.
presented for the February meeting?
So
So
moved.
moved.
I have a
Second.
motion and a second.
Yep.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, John, aye. Kristen,
Aye.
Justin,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
Ken,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Sandy,
Aye.
Brooke.
Aye.
The motion carried unanimously, both motions. We will move on to correspondence. And
I had sent it all to you. It was a memo from the Conservation Commission. They're looking to have a capital project, specifically the barn on Adams Road, reconsidered. And it came to you guys, you were part of the addressees on it. I put it in the packet that's online. You all have it. It's just because it's a piece of correspondence, I felt that we should have it out there for public consumption and for all of you. I don't know that there's any action that you need to take on it. There was a mention of $500 of CPA funds having been allocated to the project. I've cleared that issue up with Leah Cameron. That never happened. And if she wanted it to happen, she had missed the funding cycle. We talked about what that money was to be used for and kind of feel like it will be able to, that there's funds to use to cover that if it is needed. There was some confusion as to what sort of legal assistance they would need in filing of documents and whether that would come under town council's general contract or not. I don't know if you want to see the note or just move on.
Since, I'm sorry, I've lost my notes. Since they're not asking us for the money at this point, but they may be in the future, I think it's kind of good that we got a heads up, but I don't have any further questions or since that they're not asking us for money. So I think that's the bottom line.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, moving on to the field investigation documentation of invasive aquatic weed infestation. We have a couple of guests from the Lake Quinsigamon Commission. I think John Nickerson and Peter Collins and Bill Nelson. Do one of you want to speak for your group?
Oh, yes. This is Bill Nelson from 88 George Hill Road in Grafton. Do you want me to just sort of quickly summarize this, or do you have particular questions, or exactly what are you asking for?
Well, I think one of the questions that I have, I think everybody at the last meeting, all of you guys give a very thorough explanation of the project. And I think the only question that we had remaining is, somebody was going to get back to the group to find out if they had some funds that they could apply towards the total cost. And if you did find out that, and how much, if you did.
Yes, and there were two questions you asked. One was to the Conservation Commission in Grafton, and John Nickerson, who's on, should be able to answer that because he's also a member of the Conservation Commission. They decided what they were going to do. And also Peter Collins, the chair of the Lake Quinsigamon Commission, is also on this meeting, and he can probably answer most authoritatively what the status is for the Quinsigamon Lake Commission. So
Okay.
I don't know which one you want to ask first.
Okay, well, why don't we talk to Peter Collins first from Lake Quinsigamon Commission.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Peter Collins, Lake Quinsigamon Commission. At present, our plan is to do a treatment in Flint Pond area, in the area that we're talking about. So that's probably going to be close to a $3,000 or $4,000 investment down there, just to kind of eradicate the infestation there as much as possible, to give the folks with the study kind of a clear field to look at things underneath that. Because really the goal of this particular project that we're talking about with you folks is to test the sediment and to deal with the flow issues throughout the pond. So we're just trying to put the pond in the best condition that we can to pull that off.
So is that that fun? Because that's something that certainly that we like to see as well, that it's an
Yeah.
in-kind contribution. You're not actually gonna pay for this project that you're applying for specifically.
Well,
but
for the
You should-
project itself, it'll probably be we're thinking probably around $1,000 to $1,500 from the Lake Commission to pull that up. It depends on what kind of funds we're getting from from the town and the state.
Okay, is it safer to say $1,000 then?
I'd be more comfortable with 1,000 than
Okay.
15. Our next meeting is the 31st. So unfortunately, we couldn't firm that up as well as I would have liked.
Yeah. Okay.
But I don't anticipate a problem with it.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
The commission, I would just like to say this, representing the commission, they are very excited about this project, and they're very, and your participation in it. We think it's a great thing to do, and we're excited that we can bump it up on the list. It has always been on there. It's just something.
Doesn't have the funds. Great. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you guys going the extra mile, because I know you don't probably have a lot of money that you have to work with, but that makes the project have a lot greater standing with us, because we like
Okay.
to see people have skin in the game, so to speak.
You bet.
And you said Bill Nelson.
John Nickerson,
Nickerson.
who's on the Conservation Commission, would probably be the best person to give their answer.
Okay. Mr. Nickerson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So my news isn't as good as Peter's. We've reviewed the budget with Leah and the entire commission, and it does not appear that we have funds that we could allocate towards this disbursement. So
Okay.
for the study, for the work that Bill has proposed and the group has proposed. So we did review heavily as part of our last commission meeting, and we were not able to find any funds there within our budget that could be allocated. So unfortunately, we cannot contribute, but we fully support the project and the thought behind the projects.
Okay.
John, this is
enough.
Sandy. Just to clarify a little bit, is the funds that we really have some discretionary over there, they actually have regulatory requirements as what we can use it for. And so, like, because we get fees and so forth, there's very specific things that we can, use it for. And unfortunately, even though we can hire a peer reviewer to help us, we can't do this. We try to find that. So John's absolutely right. We looked at it. Leah went through all our budgets. The only way that we could get money is if we did something in a future budget through the town. And obviously the timing doesn't work on that at all. So just to clarify, and to also back up what John said is, we definitely think it's worthwhile to do this, and it really, the Conservation Commission does stand behind it. So.
Good. Thank you, Sandy.
And John, can I add a comment?
Yes, certainly.
We deliberately put this project together to try and minimize the cost. Though what I must mention is that this is part of a larger effort. As Peter mentioned, this summer we're planning on spending about $3,000 on investigation of the weeds in Flint Pond. Last year, we investigated Hovey Pond and the weeds and had them investigated, documented. A few years before that, we did Flint Pond, though that's getting a little out of date now as far as the National Heritage and Endangered Species Program at Mass Wildlife thinks about it. So when we put the proposal together, I could have made it bigger, including all these other parts, but I thought it would be better to be simple, direct, and sweet with just what we were asking for on the two things, the sediment sampling for $8,000 and the drainage investigation for $9,000, for a total of $17,000, without making it seem bigger by including all these other parts that are involved with it.
Okay, no, we appreciate that. And it's you come with a lot of homework and a lot of support from a couple of committees, and that's, again, those are the things that we like to see, that this is well supported, not just by the applicant, but by others as well. Does anyone have a question? Any comments? will we still have the 3 representatives from the Quincy Commission available?
Thank you for the work you do.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that's good that there's not a lot of questions. Everybody understands. And what you did say, it's very simple, very straightforward, what you're asking for. So we will be voting on that very shortly for all the warrant articles that we plan to propose for annual town meeting. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you,
And
guys.
you're welcome
Appreciate
to
it.
stay on if you'd like. Otherwise, you certainly don't have to.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chair. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you, guys.
We'll move on to the Lions Club, and I know I saw Dave, if Dave's speaking or if he just is one of the representatives for the Lion Club.
No, Dennis is here.
Dennis, okay, there you are. Dennis, would you like to speak?
Sure. I'm not sure nothing has changed since I spoke at the last meeting. I'm just not sure. We certainly would be grateful to put outdoor bathrooms, but not any more grateful than the mothers who have to drag their little kids into the porta toilets. So we would certainly be grateful if you could find it in your budget to give us the money we need to put those outdoor bathrooms in.
Hey, Dennis, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
And I apologize because I had emailed you after the last meeting about the amount of, if you had a ballpark for the dollar amount of the in-kind work.
I did. I thought I sent that to you.
You did, and I can't remember. I have it in my email. I just didn't know if the committee wanted to know the number.
It's roughly 6,000 to 8,000 in machinery work done by Mr. Adams.
Okay.
Great. Because that's important too, because it gives you a whole picture rather than just a little slice of what, the project
Right.
is. It's just like
Right.
the next project, those guys do, tons of work. And just to put one dollar amount on the line doesn't reflect that. So you want to get credit for what you're doing as well. So that's why we ask.
Right. And he's, as I said, he's agreed to lend his equipment to not only dig the septic, but we do have some gravel on site that can be used in the septic itself. So so that should defray some of the costs.
Good. Are there any questions from any members of the committee? And I'm sorry, my thing keeps moving around. I don't believe anyone has a question. So thank you.
As always, thank you for the work of the Lions Club.
Oh, well, you're welcome, Jim. It's
You're
our
here.
pleasure. I do have a question for Paul Scarlett. Paul, the Common project you said is going to start in the spring.
Yes.
So we can assume that the July 4th concert on the Common will not happen.
Yeah, definitely. You need an alternative location. We've actually.
South Grafton.
Yeah, we're looking at Mill Village.
Yes, that's where we've been directing folks.
Yeah.
So, and I think that the town has been trying to be as accommodating as they can with that. And they may have even reserved that spot thinking you might want to be there.
I think they did. Yeah, I think we had a report last night at our board meeting that we reserved Mill Village Park. Now that's providing that we can that the COVID restrictions get waived, because right now they're at 250 for an outdoor meeting. We get 2,500. So I don't know. That's
exactly.
I don't know what's going to happen there, but
I think it's a good time to be doing this because of COVID. It's actually, if you can find a silver lining from something horrible, I take some
agree,
solace
Paul,
in
yeah.
that. So it's going to be exciting up there in the Common this spring between the library and this project going
Yeah,
on.
we can't wait.
Yeah.
Well, Dennis,
I'm
if you
excited
tell
too.
them that Dave Roberts is singing, you won't get 250. So you'll be good.
That's true. That's true. I've heard Dave sing. It's not pretty.
You don't want
Okay. If there are no other questions of the Lions Club, we appreciate you coming to the meeting. And again, you're not required to stay on, but you're more than welcome to, as we will be voting shortly on all the warrant articles.
Well, thank you so much. I'm going to go finish my wine.
Okay.
Oh, enjoy.
Is there somebody over there with you that we might have on our committee? No, I won't mention any names.
All right. Thank you very much,
Um,
folks. We really appreciate your help.
Okay.
We appreciate you is what I'm trying to spit out.
Yeah. No, what you do is very important for the kids in Grafton. So it's
And the old people too.
Yeah, the old people, yeah.
for
That's right.
everybody, but especially the kids, the kids that do all the huge number of kids that traipse in and out of there. They this is something that is definitely a need, not a want.
It is definitely
sure.
amazing to see the use. It really is.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Nice facility.
Okay.
thank
And we're
you.
going to put Jim Gallagher's name on the, like you have doors. One of them's going to be the Jim's, and the other one's going to be the Joanne's.
We're gonna put Jim on a toilet seat.
Yeah.
Aim here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sorry.
Good
The
night to you
conversation
all.
is degenerating here.
Yeah.
I warned somebody, so I'm very tired. So
Yeah.
I'm not very accountable. Okay. The next on the agenda is New England Village Park at Whitney Park. And Ray Mead, I'm not sure is Ray on.
Yep, I see him.
Okay. I'm looking at the wrong screen. There he is. Okay, right in the middle. Hi, Ray.
Hello.
If you wanna, the floor is yours.
Okay, well, I after our last meeting, I had discussions with the Recreation Commission and some emails back and forth with Jen today, and actually I called her because I can't type that fast on my phone, and I was on my phone. So what we talked about was we had originally asked for $83,000, and that would include a park that had a splash pad, and I know people have talked about a sports court, but I never proposed a sports court, but that's beside the point. And also a building. We added $21,000 to our original estimate for a building that would house the equipment for the splash pad. So what we've come up with is a scaled down, not designed, because I haven't been able to sit with the Recreation Commission yet, and won't be sitting with them until May 5th. But we cut back on the original $83,000. And there are the Thompson and Liston has 3 tasks, A, B, and C. They actually have A through E, but their first task is $5,500, which is an existing conditions survey. The second one is $11,000 for conceptual design, and the third is $16,000 for the design and permitting, which is a total of $32,500. And what I'm suggesting is that we reduce our original request of $83,000 to $32,000, and that will give us a design and construction estimates for the October meeting, and then the remainder of Thompson and Liston's contract would be about $30,000, of which $10,000 of that is construction administration, which we don't need. So that's what the suggestion is. I know that the finance committee, I've been watching finance committee meetings and pulling my hair out. The Recreation Commission has looked favorably on this, and I think has submitted a letter, and that's what we'd be looking for now, is the $32,500.
John?
Let me get you to repeat. It was 5,500 for existing conditions.
Correct.
That
It was-
first task. Second task,
Second
11,000.
task was 11,000 for conceptual design and 16,000 for design and permitting.
Okay.
John?
I'm guessing that's Ray. Jim, sorry. Jim.
I'm wondering, Ray, if you may want to add 10% just in case, so we have a buffer there. Seeing that it's going down anyway. So if it's money that you don't need, I mean, we can have, you can have it returned. But I'm just thinking in case something comes up and all of a sudden it's another $1,500.
Yeah, so in the design and permitting, we're not going to need permitting until we have a contractor in place. So if we go out to bid in October, we won't need, depending on the scope of the project. I believe that the only thing that could happen this fall prior to winter and frost setting in would be some infrastructure work, which there's not going to be a lot of infrastructure work at that time. And if the committee wants to add, if you think you should add 10% to that, that's fine with me. But I think we've got it covered, Jim.
Your call.
Yeah, no, I'm very comfortable with that. I was very glad that Jen brought that. We had a great conversation this afternoon, and I was glad that she brought that up. So.
Okay, does everybody understand how the dynamics of the project are changing, and the ask is going to reduce to 32,500? Any questions? I have lots.
Ken had his hand up, and then Kristen, and then Paul.
Okay, so Ken first.
Okay, I know, John, that you mentioned the issue of signs back when we were speaking to the new TA, and I'd just like to make sure that Ray and company include in their plans a standard, CPC style sign.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
It's the granite posts and the wood sign with the granite posts.
I actually know how much it costs.
So that might be your 10% you need to add on. So.
It might be, but that's for the construction phase, but you need to include it in your plans.
Yes. Yep.
That's Ken.
And
then you
the
said
same
Kristen.
the same should be said
Sorry.
about the other project that we just spoke about. It needs a sign too.
For the weed abatement, or not? Well,
no, the
Lions Club.
Lions Club.
Yeah, I don't think we don't need a sign for the weeds.
I forgot to mention it for the Lions Club, but yes, the Lions
But
Club.
I think the Lions Club sign is going to be trickier because it has a sign, and so we don't want to have a battle of the signs.
The sign could be inside the park, because it should include, it needs to encompass the asphalt as well that we already did.
Right. So
But
that's something we can.
We're making a big enough investment in it that the sign could be, someplace on the property.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I could pass that word on to the other people in the club who are working on this, just to make sure that we don't forget that.
Please do. It costs, it does have a cost to it too, which the committee will reimburse.
Well, it's part of your grant, actually. We don't.
Ray
it's
knows.
not on top of. It's included in.
Ask Ray how much it costs.
It's wicked expensive.
It's like $5,000.
Yeah.
So.
And it has to be part of the grant. It can't be paid for outside of.
So do we have to change their ask?
Good point.
I need to see what's left from contingency funds, because they must have figured some of those in, and if they don't have them, then we can address it.
But I think there's
You
already
probably-
money from the first project, a significant amount. Isn't that right, Joanne? That
Yeah, that's
talked
the one
about
we're
that.
changing the sunset date.
right. So I think that they're safe because they saved a lot of money on the paving, I know, alone. So I don't think that's a big concern, but we do want to make sure that it happens. So that was a good point. Okay, Kristen, sorry.
I just wanted to clarify, Ray, looking through the proposal from Thompson and Liston, their scope of work, they estimate the project to be in the range of $800 to $1 million. Is that accurate in your estimate
No,
for what you think at the end of the day this project's going to cost?
no, that was their original, proposal.
Okay,
So that's no, 800 to $1 million, no.
okay.
No.
Because I want to get in, I know at this point it's just conceptual design that you have to get approved through town meeting and whatever. But I want to understand after that's approved, how much more will you be coming back to CPC for to fund? Trying to understand overall, like, are we going to be allocating all of our recreation money and CPC for the next 2 or 3 years to this project alone because of the cost, or how much are you bringing to the table? Like, how many more times do you think you'll need to come to CPC to ask for money?
Well, I'll only come back once we have the construction estimate, and that's going to be based on the design, collaborating with the Recreation Commission. So
Do you know
that's,
what that-
I don't know. I don't know what that is right now. And until we work together with the Recreation and come up with a plan, I really can't tell you. You know, I mean, it's going to be north of $300,000. I can tell you that. That's easy.
Right. But do you think it's realistic to think maybe we could get it at 5?
Oh, yeah, it's very possible. Again, once we come up with a design, and we're gonna, you know, I mean, I'm meeting with Recreation on the 5th. Once we, you know, come up with a plan, we can put a number. I can put a number to it very
Okay.
easily. So,
And then so let's just say it's 500,000.
Yep.
How much would your organization be bringing to the table for that project?
well, let's put it this way: if we were going to bring 10%, that's $50,000. We actually brought considerably more than that to the bridge. So, we brought it to the bridge probably. I think when we finished it out, it was probably in the almost $95,000 range, somewhere around there.
Okay.
So
say a $300,000 ask from CPC.
Yep.
Asking John and the committee, like, is that something we could take out of 1 year's funds, or would we do that over a series of years? I'm just trying to think, because we have some other projects coming forward in recreation, people talking about a skate park, different types of facilities that might fit into the open space and recreation plan, some different needs. And I'm just trying to, wrap my head around, if we commit to this, does that mean all of the money for recreation through CPC is going to go to this one project, or will we have other money come next year for other projects?
Well, Ken just gave us a report that we are getting about $600,000 each of new dollars each year. And we're not spending all of that each year. So, we have about $600,000, or is that, where's Ken?
He's in the Rocky.
Of that, do we have about 300 to spend after our commitments for bonds and so forth?
We could do that. The $300 would definitely be a big section of the year. And the question is, would it be fiscal 2022 or the year after that? 22 hasn't even begun yet, so it's possible it would come up in October. Is that what we're saying?
yes.
Yeah, it would be, if we did it in October, it would definitely added to what we're already doing, take a substantial fraction of what we have available.
For the remainder.
Joanne?
And so we wouldn't be doing anything else equivalent to that in October, if we were going to do that.
Okay, let me do Joanne and then Paul.
There's 2 questions, comments from Jen Anderson in the comments section. Jen has said the sign conversation she would think would happen upon approval of construction funding and raising the design phase. And I kind of agree with her on that. We need a sign, but let's design a park first. And I think her point is the sign does not need to be in this budget. And then she also is asking Ray, when we spoke today, I thought we talked about 17,500. Is it necessary to enter the permitting process, task C, at this point for the additional 16,000?
No, no, and Jen is correct. We don't need to enter into the permitting process, but we need to take some of the task C to get the final estimate. That's so we don't need all of the $16,000 because we don't need to get into permitting right now because we don't have a contractor, we don't have a price, we don't have funding. So that's just in there. I'm not saying if you give me $16,000 over task A and B, it's not going to get spent, not all of it.
Okay, Paul?
So it's been so long, I now have two questions.
What you're gonna say like me, I forgot.
I'm going to start with the one that came up during the conversation that has been ensuing. So can we get a list of the projects that are currently under consideration by the Rec Commission? Just a listing of what they are, because it keeps coming up that they've got, other things, but I don't know what they are, and I'd like to know.
We just have people that have come to us, but we don't have any formal plans from them yet.
So,
but when we commit, I just, knowing that it's just a matter of timing, and what if they get their act together and come forward in a month or two, and now we just missed the window. But provided that we don't have to wait over a year, like I'll be fine with putting all the money towards this project this year. I just don't want to get into a situation where we're 2 or 3 years down the road before we can fund anything else. But I don't have anything specific. As soon as we have something, we can forward it to you.
Yeah, we never limit, I know we have different funds that we can support, but we never limit one of them to just what that money that gets aside is, whatever that level is. So you should never think like that. But I think for us to be able to evaluate this project over what other ones you've seen, we kind of have to know what else you got on the plate.
I agree with Paul, and I think that's something that we've always kind of had an informal process of, if people know of projects, especially like with Ray and the Cisco Homestead. She said, okay, we're doing this now, but we know we're going to do this next and this next. So even though there's no contract, there's no definite plan, they do have like a 3 to 5 year master plan, unofficial or official, that says this is what we want to do. And I think that's what Paul is saying, that if you guys come up with priorities based on the open space plan, that in the next 3 or 5 years, these are the things that we'd like to do, that we may come to you for, and this is what we think they may cost. You may fund them with your own budget, you may fund them with CIPC, you may come to us, you may do a little bit of all three. But at least that way, if we can see that you have one project, not 5 or 4 projects or 10 or whatever it is, and we can see a big picture, so that helps us prioritize. So that if we do get to a point to where we have to make choices of this year or next year, at least we kind of have a horizon to see what's coming up.
Right.
So very informal, no commitment by either side, but just to kind of share with us what your thoughts or your wishes, what you'd like to do with that open space plan. And with some kind of a dollar figure attached to some of that and some years, that would be extremely helpful to us.
I would take it further though, because there may be things that aren't on the open space plan that is on your guys' radar that you want and you see benefit from. So we'd like to know about those too.
Yep, I think, didn't Joanne, do you know when is that finalized open space plan supposed to come through?
The select board was taking up the endorsement of it at their last meeting, and it was tabled to get a little more information. I think the hope is that within the next few weeks, it's not planned to be on the March 30th agenda. I don't know if it'll be on April 6th, but once they offer that endorsement, then I believe Chris can send it on to the state. It does have conditional approval though. So I think if I remember the words Chris used, it's good, it's ready to go. It's a change in some of the priorities of some of the items. I
Okay.
hope that helped, but I think it's fair for people to look at that report and view it as a very solid document. It's been conditionally approved by the state. It just does not have the final approval yet.
Okay. Well, I'll put it on I'll talk to Jen and make sure we put that on our agenda over the next couple months to start making that priority list, like you said, based off of that plan, and then the projects that have been, or the groups that have been coming to us. And then, have that, hopefully we can get that together for the fall for CPC.
Excellent. Thank you. So can I ask my original question now?
Certainly.
Before I give up the floor. Perry Hill Park was wrapped up with this when it was presented to us last month. I'm assuming it isn't part of this anymore, but I kind of like to hear that and then kind of know what's going on with Perry Hill Park.
So Perry Hill Park, the plan is to file with the legislature to remove the Chapter 97 designation for that and hand that over to affordable housing, and take the equipment, the current equipment that's at Perry Hill Park, and transfer it to Whitney Park. That's the plan.
And that's a longer term plan than what this project is, because it's probably going to take longer to settle that, but you want to have it like as kind of your part two.
Yeah, I think, what I really want to do is I really want to find out, not the process of getting it out of 97, but how long this could possibly take to do that. Affordable housing is interested in that piece of property, and it would be a great piece of property for affordable housing.
You would think that that's a state priority, that they would fast track it or support it quite easily. Once presented.
Personally, I think that would be supported in the legislature. So,
if I may, Ray, are you meeting with Evan in the near future?
I am.
Okay, because I had some preliminary discussions with him about this, and he indicated to me it would require select board approval.
Yes. Oh,
and,
yeah.
And town meeting approval. So I think,
yeah.
we're getting ahead of ourselves when we're talking about the state fast tracking it. You first need to get local approval for all this.
It has to go. It has to go through. It has to go through the select board and get that approval, and then that gets passed on to the state. So my discussions would be with our state rep and our senator, to see what the process is.
Okay, did that answer
yes, thank you.
your questions, Paul? Great. It seems like there might have been another question.
I thought Dave had his hand up.
Dave, sorry.
Well, yeah, I had my hand up just in regards to your question about the open space and recreation plan. And that question has largely been answered. I'll just maybe fill in a detail or two. And that is, the plan is complete. The only thing left to be done is to get the select board's endorsement. And once the select board writes a letter of endorsement, that gets folded into the plan. The plan gets handed into the state. And unless the state finds something else to pick at, we're done. And then we immediately start planning for revising that plan within 7 years. But that's a whole nother topic. And I think we're at least tentatively scheduled to meet with the select board on April 6th. I don't know that that's firmed up yet, but that's the date that's been proposed to me anyway. So with any luck, we'll have that plan completely wrapped up within a couple of weeks. But there are no changes are expected to it at this point. It's really is in its final form.
Great, thank you. Okay, does anyone have another question? Any other comments for Ray? Does he need to do something with you, Joanne, formally to change the application? Because we're changing the,
Yeah, we should submit a revised application. I can work with you, Ray, on getting that done because I know the form was not being cooperative last time that you were putting this together. And some of that's on me.
I don't know if it's not being cooperative, Joanne, or it's my just wonderful computer skills.
You weren't the
Much
only one who had
instruction
problems with it. So, okay, but we'll work on getting a revised document
Okay,
together.
yep.
okay. Thank you very much, Ray. We appreciate all that you're doing on this. And Kristen and Recreation for you guys participating as well. Okay, so we will move on to, there's proposed sunset provision language that will help us from having to keep going back to town meeting. That this language will be included in warrant articles. Joanne, you're muted.
I'm pulling it up. Hang on, give me 1 second here. Okay. I put it actually into some of the draft articles. All right. So if we look at this, can everybody see this one for the Lions Club?
Yes.
Okay. So the wording is right here at the end. What Ginny has suggested is we go in with such funds to be expended by and the date, unless the CPC by majority, and this is where we have to decide, is it by majority vote or 2/3 vote, extends the deadline. So that would allow the committee to extend any sunset provision. I think this is a great thing to add. I don't think it's something that really needs to be going back to town meeting. These sunset provisions were put in place really to help the committee in that you don't have projects sitting out there open like the historic gravestone project forever.
Not pointing fingers.
And not pointing fingers and the money not being used. So to put this, to the committee, to me makes sense. So I offer that part up. And then the other part is you need to make a decision on whether you as a committee feel it should be by a majority vote or 2/3 vote.
All right, so can we make a motion and get that on the board and then have a discussion?
Yeah, you can make a motion for what you think the sunset
I'd like
provision
to make a
wording should
motion
be.
that we do the CPC by majority.
Second.
Any discussion? I agree. I think this is a simple majority is all that we need. If we say 2/3, we may have a problem with quorum because 2/3 isn't 2/3 present. It's 2/3 of your full committee. And that can create havoc for trying to get things done. So I think if a majority votes to approve something that and as simple as extending a sunset, I think that should be fairly acceptable, reasonable for us to pursue. Any other comments?
Yeah, I was going to say roughly the same thing. As from my seat, I'm comfortable with majority. I can imagine there might be some contentious projects in the future that we might have, but even then, I don't think we need to worry about a sunset provision extension by 2/3. I think we've already decided the town wants to do the project at that point. So I think doing a majority vote makes sense.
It's just basically a housekeeping matter for us. So we don't want to make it an onerous housekeeping project. Any other comments? Either pro or con?
I support this.
Okay.
Well, that's good enough for me.
And thank you,
I
Paul,
didn't-
for pushing this along because this really was your idea.
I didn't hear what Jim said.
I said, that's, if Paul's for it, then that is my vote right there.
Okay. I thought you said something
I-
wittier than that. Sorry.
I just thought of a question.
I didn't mind hearing it twice. I don't know about the rest of you.
I just thought of a question which might be for Joanne if she knows the answer. Is this one thing that's in our warrant article that could be amended on the town meeting floor if a town meeting member doesn't like the ability that we as committee can extend a sunset?
Yeah, so my understanding, I'll run that by Ginny, but the only thing on town meeting floor that can't be amended is the dollar amount, an up or down of the dollar amount of the project. But I'll run that by Ginny.
Yeah, it's just a curiosity to me in case that fact alone seems to be running a project that we're in strong support of to be a problem for town meeting. I don't think we have any this cycle, but just as a
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
thought.
my, the thought process there for me is if somebody has an issue with the committee extending the sunset, then there's a bigger issue with the problem, with the project.
Yeah, I imagine that to be so. It's just sometimes I get these oddball questions when I'm talking to people, and knowing that it's possible to try to change it on town meeting floor is one thing. Then
I think
So-
what's important, Justin, is that was never the intent to insist that town meeting make a decision on that. Really,
Yep.
the whole concept of it stemmed from us wanting to make sure that funds just didn't sit out there
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah, and
I
not
agree.
all towns even use sunset provisions. There's nothing in the act that,
And this language is common. It's not something, I mean, our town council came up with it right on the spot saying, you can easily do this. And that's something that other towns do, so.
but I'll send that question to Ginny.
So for these warrant articles, do you want to, for draft form at least, then just delete the 2/3 and make it majority? Is that,
Yeah,
and do
well-
we need to vote on that? Should we have an official vote or not?
I think in the next agenda item, what you need to vote on is the committee's decision around how the wording for sunset provisions will be. And you have a motion on the floor right now for majority vote by the committee
Okay,
to change
So-
it.
Then I would
Okay.
think that would just be pro forma for the other articles.
Right, and once you approve that, I will put that in all of the articles.
okay, so we have a motion and a second. Are there any other questions, any further discussion? So I will do a roll call. John Stevens, aye. Kristen,
Aye.
Justin,
I
Paul,
Aye.
Ken,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Sandy,
Aye.
Brooke. Motion carried unanimously. Okay. So on to the warrant articles for annual town meeting in June.
So here, couple things. I've drafted warrant articles for all of the accounting items, the reserves, the bond payments, the sunset provisions that we do need to extend, as well as the 3 projects you have before you. So you can look at the wording and talk about the accounting and bond payment ones, and the sunset provision ones, and then deal with the 3 projects before you. You can deal with the 3 projects right now and just vote as to whether you want to move them forward to town meeting and with what dollar amount. And then we can look at the warrant articles as one. That's for
Well, I
you to
think
decide, John.
For the matter of time, I think.
You see my head going like this.
If we talk about the three acts,
Projects.
yeah, and then if they're passed, then we could just do a blanket.
For the
blanket
standard.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's start. Do you want to start with, I don't know what you have on the screen for the first one. Do you have the field investigation first? You're still muted. Sorry.
I don't know that you need the warrant article. I think as a committee, it makes sense for you to
Okay.
talk about the project and whether you want to move it forward to town meeting or not, and with what dollar amount.
Okay, so that being said, field investigation, the request was, I believe, 17,000. They will self-fund 1,000, so the net would be 16,000. Do we want to fund the full 17,000 just in case they don't come up with their own 1,000? Because there was a question of budgetary issues.
I move to fund them for $8,000, the full amount. And
Well,
if they get their 1,000, they can refund the money to us.
But wasn't it 17?
Or 17, whatever, excuse me, 18 instead of 17.
It was the two parts. I think 8 was one part of it. Okay, so I have a motion to fund the project for 17 and a second. Any discussion?
I just want to say I was going to make the same motion Paul did. I think they didn't vote on the commission, like Quincy Commission did not vote on spending that money yet. So I think it makes sense to offer the motion, offer the town meeting as everything.
So we don't come up short accidentally.
Who seconded Paul's motion?
I thought Brooke did.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? John, aye. Kristen,
Aye.
Justin,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
Ken,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Sandy.
I'm going to abstain just because this sort of came out of conservation, so I'm just going to bypass.
Okay. Sandy abstains. And Brooke?
Aye.
Declared the motion carried. Second warrant article, New England, Lions Club, Dauphin Park bathroom project.
Make a motion that we accept it as
Second.
it's requested.
Okay, I heard a motion and a second, but I couldn't tell you who seconded.
Yeah,
Ken?
Paul
Paul?
or
Let's,
Ken, I don't know.
let's confirm the amount that we're talking about.
It's one.
Is it $32,500?
You did such a good job at
No.
the first one, John.
No, we're talking Lions Club. You're talking the other one.
Oh, right, Lions Club. Is that 175,000?
70, right, something.
835?
Yeah, that's the one. 175, 835.
Okay. So I have a motion and a second for $175,835 for the Lions Club Dauphin Park Rehabilitation Project proposal. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Ken?
I noticed there wasn't an account listed. Are we going to continue specifying what account we would like it to come from? There's 3 possible sources.
Yeah, Ken, I think what might make sense is once we have the approvals and you start to look at the warrant articles, what's always really helpful to me is if the committee passes the language of the warrant articles such that they give you and me the ability to place in the funding sources in the motions.
Okay.
I think that makes more sense because you can look at big picture once everything's passed and you know how much is in the reserves and how much are in the other funds. So you're, rather than us trying to do it and then hamstringing you
Good point.
later on. That's
And
probably
that exactly settles what Kristen's concern was a few minutes ago as to what we're doing here.
Yep.
So, okay. Any other questions, comments? That was a good suggestion. So we'll take a roll call. John Stevens, aye. Kristen,
Aye.
Justin,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
Ken,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Sandy,
Aye.
Brooke.
Aye.
I declare it passed unanimously. Okay, so New England Village the Whitney Park project for $32,500 for 3 tasks: existing conditions, conceptual design, and design development costs. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Was that Jim? Jim made a motion. Does Paul second?
No, I'm not seconding. I have a question,
Okay.
but it can wait for discussion if someone wants to second.
I'll second.
Justin seconded. So I have a motion and a second. The floor now recognizes Paul Scarlett.
So one of the things that I'd be very interested in seeing is that plan of other projects and to get your input on what you had envisioned before we had a vote. So do we have to actually vote and approve this funding tonight? Is this the drop dead line for this funding, or do we have time?
So
Why
the
is that
warrant,
an issue, Paul?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Why is that an issue? What we're doing is,
I'm just curious because I'd like to see that before I voted.
but you're not.
Unless
until they
Kristen
do it.
tells me that there isn't a serious concern with this, and I think her concern is funding, and I try to alleviate that to the extent that I could, but I just don't know what she's got on the horizon. So
Kristen.
I just want to make this, the recreation would like to suggest that we approve funding for the existing condition survey and the conceptual design phase of his proposal, but save task C, the design and permitting, for after he's gone to town meeting and we know what the project is and that he's got approval for it. Like Ray said, we're going to be working with him to kind of fit his project into the budget that we see is appropriate, and the use for the space and all of that. So we're perfectly comfortable with this project. I think we'll be able to do some of the other things as well. But at this stage of the game, I think it's more appropriate to just approve task A and B, which I think Jen said totaled 17,000. That's what we would ask to approve.
it's 17,500.
Yeah.
Can I just comment on that? If we don't do the 3 parts of that plan, then that's going to affect the October town meeting and having that information available so that we can have a warrant article to go in October so it can be done next year as opposed to waiting 2 years. And the amount of money we're talking about is not significant, and it's easily covered. So I think I just think that we should pass this as it was requested.
And why wouldn't you want the additional steps, Kristen?
Well, we don't understand why he needs that money at this point. He doesn't know that he's going to get approval at town meeting for this project, and we don't know the scope yet. So I guess in our minds, we were thinking we would, do the survey, get the plans in place, go to town meeting, get your approval, and then come back in October with the remainder of the request for the rest of the funds.
But
he said he couldn't do construction most likely before the snow flies this year.
But if you do that, then you're not funding the actual conception plans from which they're going to make the estimates for the cost. So you're delaying it a full year. And what we're only talking, what are we talking about here for step 3?
Yeah, what piece is missing? What is step 3?
I think,
Design.
can I?
16,000.
Joanne?
Jen Anderson is asking to be brought into the meeting or allowed to talk.
That would be
Okay. My understanding is that he needed some of that money to do part 1 and part 2. So somehow part 1 and part 2 spill into part 3, not completely, but partially. That's what I heard him say. And Justin, and then we'll let Jen, okay? Justin?
Yeah. So yeah, my comment was going to be starting with the fact that Ray did say that he needed to have some of part 3 done in order to round this out, in order to come back at the October town meeting. He didn't need the permitting part of part 3, but he wanted to have that full amount, and that that part 3 amount was also going to be part of his buffer. When we mentioned about the percent buffer, he said because he doesn't need this extra part 3, he feels strongly that he'll be okay. But that was what I heard from him, so I would feel most comfortable funding him for his full request.
Okay.
And- Go ahead.
Okay. Jen, do you want to join
Yep,
us?
I'm here.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, so based on what Ray said tonight, I guess maybe the extra 16 is a buffer, but we did speak today. When you read that proposal, task A and task B would cover you for a conceptual design and estimated costs, which I just feel is going to get you exactly what you need, a design, a number for him to then come back in October and say, here is the plan, here's what the part cost would be, and now I'm asking for funds to construct it, and any additional, design, tweaking, construction cost, whatever would be part of that number. I mean, he's in the business, so I'm not here to, and that's why we talked. So he knows more than me, but I did just go through this process, and we were able to spend some money to get a plan to present to the stakeholders, and then I told, like I told him, and for a presentation. And when you read that proposal, it just doesn't seem that more than 17,000, 17.5 would be needed for that. So I just want to make sure that you guys were reading that through, and like I said, if it's the buffer and that Ray he needs the buffer, then that does make sense at that point. But you read that proposal and it does seem pretty clear as to what that number would be.
Okay, I see Ray is back in. Ray, do you want to clarify some of these questions for us?
Ray, one of the questions
The concern
that
is
came up is wondering if there should be an alternative award covering step 1 and step 2 and wait on step 3. But as I said, and you tell me if I'm wrong, that the step 3, that's going to get you into the ballpark to be able to have something to come forward with in October. So if we don't do that now, we're going to delay it 2 years instead of a year.
Yeah, you're not going to use all of step 3, but you're going to use, not step 3, it's task C, but you're not going to use all of it, but you will use some of it.
so if we don't do, if we only do task A and task B, which is 17,500, that will make it difficult, if not impossible, for you to do what you need to do to come back to town meeting in October with another request for this is what we plan to do.
Yeah, so if you do A and B, you'll have a conceptual plan. You won't have actual details. So the details help as far as pricing it and everything that needs to go along with it. So it's drawing sections and details of the proposed improvements and things like that. So A and B, you'll get your conceptual design.
Okay, Paul.
Joanne, could you show us what task C is? Do we have a document that has it?
If you want, I can, if Joanne has it, that's fine.
Give me a minute. I'm just gonna have to scroll down a little bit here to find, because we're looking at the one specific proposal. Oh. This is it, right,
Yes,
Ray?
Thompson and Liston, yes.
Okay, and then where,
It's on page 4.
thank you,
Oh, I thought I saw C. No.
page 4. Here we go.
Right there.
That's task C.
All right. So do you have an idea, Ray, of what you're going to plan already in more detail than what you provided before?
What you could cut that off at is using using the plans by TLA and CAA, which is the landscape architect, assist us in preparing applications, advertising, and things like that. Because that's not something that we need, but we will need to prepare an erosion and sedimentation control plan and stormwater calculations for pricing.
How much of that work is predicated on what your plan actually includes, and how much is just overall work that you have to do regardless of what you're doing?
Well, this is kind of work that we have to do, you know, despite what we put in the park. This is work that we're going to have to do. So if we're going to add parking, if we're going to alter the size of the park, you know, based on the 1.15 acres, then we're gonna need that information so that we can get a final price.
Sorry, I screwed that up.
One of the things I saw on there, Chris, and I'll get you 1 second. It said scenic roads. That none of those are scenic roads, so I don't think that will be one of the hurdles that you're going to have to jump. You've got
those are things they're just going to check into.
Okay, yeah, they're only a handful, maybe 7 or 9 in Grafton, and
right.
They're typically the ones with stone walls. So
yep.
The picture went away, but I think
I know I'm having a hell of a time with this thing. Sorry, I hit something on my screen.
Click maximize.
I'm trying to, and it can't because there we go. The screen share little green bar kept showing. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm really challenged right now. I apologize.
I battled Zoom this afternoon, so I'm right with you. Let me get back to my picture.
Paul's got his hand up.
No, but Kristen did, and then Paul.
So is the difference, like, is it 2 different approaches here, techniques for going to town meeting? One is you go with a concept and you get that approved before you sink the money into all of the future design plans for the project, versus skipping over the approval of the concept for the park and going right to actual plans with amounts and getting town to approve that. So potentially you put all that work into those plans and it might not get approved, and then it's all for naught, versus first starting with the concept, getting that approved, and then going for more detailed plans. Is that like the 2 approaches?
Well, I'm not sure what you're talking about, taking a concept to town meeting. I'm not even sure what that is. So, you know, in this situation, and I'm just going to base it on what we did at Brony Park, is we took the plans, we got the plans, the money for the plans approved. We took the plans, we got that priced, and we took it to town meeting and got the approval. That's it. I'm not sure what getting a concept.
Well, what I'm saying is, instead of doing all of the plans that you don't know are going to get approved, instead you present a concept plan. It doesn't have all of the details of the cost. You say, do you like this idea? This is our estimate. These are the kinds of things we're going to put in here. Are you on board with it? And then once they say yes, then you go out and you solicit your quotes for all of, you know, the more detailed design plan, and spend the $30,000 or $40,000, whatever it is, for those plans at that point, once you know the project's approved. But is that not the process of how we go about doing these kinds of things? We don't start with a concept, get it approved, and then pay for detailed site plans.
Well, I think in this situation, it's not you know, we're not building a multi-million-dollar building here. But this is.
So we just do it all at once.
You just do it. You just, you know, do it, and it flies or dies with town meeting. And I think that's how most CPC projects go before the town. So, and also building projects.
Okay.
So I think I was.
Okay, Paul. Yep.
So I hear you on what you're saying, and I've been involved in a number of construction projects, and I know how difficult it is to mobilize, and when you have deadlines and trying to get funding, and it becomes huge hurdles to getting projects done. But there is process that we should be doing. One of the things that we've done on other projects is had public awareness meetings. Would you be doing something along those lines to gauge people's interest in advance of town meeting? Because I know that's a tight turnaround now, but there's still time.
Yeah, I'm sure that, we were planning on putting out, some type of publication so that people knew what was going on in this project and what what we were planning. So for town meeting.
Any other questions, comments?
Yes, Jen Anderson has her hand up.
Sorry, Jen?
Thank you, Joanne and John. Yeah, I just wanted, and Paul, I guess, comment a little bit further on other maybe recreation projects. I think the idea is with this park that the previous park that was being proposed to you and town meeting, that there was concern that it was going to tie up CPC funds for a couple of years. So I think that that's what Kristen and I are just trying to, get across is, what's the lowest amount of money that can be spent to come up with a number of what this park would be. So we knew what sort of funds would be used in the coming years. There's always going to be other projects. This is the project in front of you. You're not always going to be able to know what's coming down the line. Right. But the fear with previous proposals is that the funds would be locked up for anything else. And I think that's just what we're trying to get across here. Thanks.
Yeah. If I could add just one thing, John.
Certainly.
I don't have a ton of skin in the game with this. I'm just interested in the project because it's been hanging around for a lot of years. Long before we talked about the bridge that's right near here, we were talking about New England Village, which is what Whitney Park is. And it is a historic site, and it's actually a very unique site in this town. It is a working piece of history. The mill is still operational, and the village is still there. So I think anything we can do to support that from a historical perspective would be great, as well as recreation, which is something that hasn't been discussed, but I think it's important to factor into the discussion. So,
which adds another stakeholder, which would be the Blackstone Valley National Heritage Quarter, and they could help provide some of that historical context and perhaps give you a wayside or I think there's already a Whitney Park sign there that they did. But that before they tore down the karate church, that was one of the most intact working mill villages in Massachusetts. Without the church, it still has the mill, and that's so few of them still have the mill. They have the housing. There's still another church there. So it is a historic site, and that would be a nice addition as well to include them. And like on the common, there's a wayside panel that Quarter did to help people have a little context of what it is you're seeing. It's 150, 200 years in the making, but it does give people information. Justin, you're muted.
Thank you. That doesn't happen often for me. I'm starting to get the impression that majority of us have our minds made up. At least I think I'm not going to get much more out of further conversation. Do we want to take a vote, or do I have to move the question to do so? Is what I'm getting at.
Are there any other questions or comments that people feel they need to ask or have addressed? I'm comfortable with what I've heard. So we'll move the question. Do I have a motion?
The motion's on the floor.
Motion on the floor from Jim, and I think I seconded.
You did.
So there's a motion and a second for $32,500.
Yes.
And we'll start out roll call. John Stevens, aye. Kristen,
Aye.
Justin,
Aye.
Paul,
aye.
Ken,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Sandy,
Aye.
Brooke,
Aye.
Motion carried unanimously. Okay. So we have those three taken care of. Thank you, Ray, for coming back.
Oh, no problem. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate, I appreciate what
Okay.
you do. And I know your job is not easy and I really do appreciate,
Okay, well, we appreciate what you're doing because that really needs some help, and we know you guys will do a good job. So,
well, we'll do our best.
yeah, well, it's your front yard, so you've got a lot of motivation to make it as nice as you can.
Oh, I have tons of motivation. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, Joanne.
Good night, Ray.
John, there is, Jen Anderson had submitted a kind of a question comment, and to consider maybe Mill Village's advisory committee. So that's something I guess you could look at when you get closer to the bigger parts of the project. I think that's what Jen's getting at, is maybe create,
Oh,
a
and
committee.
advisory committee.
Yeah, like, because Mill Village's park in South Grafton has an advisory committee.
Okay, well, maybe we
But
should
it-
clarify with that committee. Are they just that one, or are they for all the mill villages? So if they feel like they're just the one, then we need to go to the selectmen to say, should we create another one? Or recreation should go to the
Well,
selectmen.
they're gonna
That
get,
was specific to that park to raise the funds to really get it off the ground, and they've stayed together apparently. So I think it would have to be a new entity.
I think they already mentioned that they're gonna get together on, was it May 1st, May 5th, Kristen?
5th with recreation. Yeah.
Yeah, so, if that's that's something they may probably bring it up then, because that's not gonna impact until the October town meeting, assuming we get everything back that we need.
Yeah, we were hoping to meet with them at this month's meeting, but he wasn't available and I wasn't sure if it was urgent enough to ask that he send somebody in his place. Like, are we okay waiting till May? Do you think that's okay, waiting till May to talk to them? Or should we push for somebody to be there next week?
Who are we talking to? I'm sorry, I missed that point.
So I
He's
think it's,
coming to meet with commission, recreation.
Yeah, I
but
would think.
he's been meeting with her, right?
I'm sorry. He's been talking to Jen on the side, yes. But he was gonna sit down with recreation at our committee meeting and talk about the actual, like the use for the space. And ideas of plans and things that'll go into it.
Yeah.
But we were not able to sit down with him until our May meeting. He's not able to make the April meeting. So I just want to confirm that, that's okay, that we wait until then to have that discussion with him.
I think it's up to you, depending on how much you have a need to talk to him. You have questions still, and you think he might have answers versus giving him some time to come up with them. That would be my thought. If he can't make April 5th, or you can always do an off-cycle meeting. We do those on occasion.
Is there
Can
someone
I-
else on his committee though that could represent him and have the information that you needed? That would be, there may or may not be somebody.
Can I interrupt
could
with,
be-
there's
Yep.
two, okay. So Jen Anderson has put more stuff in the comments about Mill Village's advisory committee and whether or not they have responsibility for all the, like, if they would have responsibility for Whitney Park or not. I looked into that a little bit and I couldn't find anything indicating that they did, because I can't find proof that Whitney Park is considered a mill village. I will look into that some more. Jen, if you have more around this, I think it just makes sense for you to ask it and comment, because I'm still a little confused on what we're going after. The second
No,
piece,
I'm here if I can pop in, I guess.
yeah. The other piece I just want to talk about is Kristen's asking about whether recreation should have somebody come to their meeting in April. I think I don't want to overstep here, but it seems to me that's a question the Recreation Commission needs to answer. At this point, the Community Preservation Committee has voted. I don't know what other information your committee, CPC, would be looking for at this, am I making sense?
Yeah, I
So-
think, I think it's, I think there's two different things happening here. I think Kristen may be speaking about Ray coming to us versus Mill Villages Committee. Is that correct, Kristen?
Correct. I was just responding off Jim Gallagher asking when we were going to sit down with Ray to talk about the next stages of his proposal.
Yeah, so Ray can't come to April, so he was going to come to May. And now if we break out this funding and he's not going to come to CPC till October for construction, we have more time to meet with Ray. I think Mill Villages Advisory Committee was obviously first formed because of Mill Villages Park in South Grafton, but they're charged to state, and my understanding from the previous town planner was that area, New England Village, is considered a mill village, and that would be that, Mill Villages Advisory Committee is supposed to be, involved with all villages. They might not have that capacity at this point, but I think that's what the overall goal is supposed to be.
Jen, is that different than the Mill Villages Park Committee that was put
No,
together?
I think those two get merged a lot. I don't believe, and Joanne, maybe you know that there is a Mill Villages Park Committee. It's always been Mill Villages Advisory Committee, and I think it just gets kind of blended sometimes.
Okay. Probably because that project took a lot of attention.
The association is always there with that. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, so I'll look into this. Jen, if you have anything from Joe Layden that would help me in this search, I'd appreciate it.
And
if you have an email or anything that I can, because I have not been able to find anything.
Ann Morgan would be somebody that should know. If somebody wants to reach out to her, I could
get the Ann Morgan contact, right?
The thing that relates to this is the Historic District Commission is not just the common. It's if the town adopts other historic districts in town, the Historic District Commission would be over them as well. It's not the Historic Common District Commission, it's the Historic District Commission. But it's the language, the enabling language. So you'd have to look at the Mill Villages Park or the Mill Villages Advisory Committee, whatever the correct name is, what their enabling legislation is.
Okay, I'll do a little more work on this. And like Jen, if you do have anything, just send it to me. I'll talk to Chris McGoldrick as well and see what he may have. Okay.
Thank you. Okay. So we're now moving on to our housekeeping warrant articles. Oh, you're muted, Joanne.
Yes, I know. I apologize. I have to get them up again.
Oh, that's okay. But I could hear you typing. I could hear somebody typing.
All right, here we go.
And it's my understanding that we will do these as one warrant article.
Okay, so the first one you have is for the special town meeting, and this will be to transfer the $64,891 in the Affordable Housing Reserve account to the Grafton Affordable Housing Trust. You should
Okay.
really do a separate motion for this
For that one, right, because it's special. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. And is there any discussion?
Yes, there is.
Okay. Ken,
The amount in this article as written is for fiscal year 2022. But the meeting is for 2021. So the correct amount is should be on one of the fiscal year 2021 page of the treasurer's report, which is $60,701.
60,000.
701. You can save this warrant article for next year.
Okay.
okay.
So then the motion is to accept this article with the amended amount of $60,701.
Okay, I have a motion, a second, a correction. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor, John Stevens, aye. Kristen,
Aye.
Justin,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
Ken,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Sandy,
Aye.
Brooke.
Aye.
Declare the motion carried unanimously. Okay, here comes,
So this next one is, I'm going to ask that you not do these as a group. Just because if there's any change in one of them, it makes it a little tricky. If it might take an extra 5 minutes. Okay,
So
I
you
just
want
think it's
4 warrant
cleaner.
articles.
I think you need to look at each warrant article.
Okay,
I think all right. So this is your reserve warrant article.
sorry,
where
5. That's 5.
It's going to be more than that because you've got sunset provision ones also. Okay, so if we could just take this first one, because this is a big article with a lot of items in it. This is where we're doing the community administrative expenses, your reserve numbers, and then your budgeted reserve. Now, Ken, are you good with these numbers? Do you want this to go in blank with numbers going in at the time of the motions?
I think we know the numbers, but they should probably go in blank because those aren't quite the right numbers. Did you get them from Mary this morning?
No, I got them from you a few weeks ago.
Right. You should. They should be replaced with the numbers from the treasurer's report that we just approved,
Okay.
which are slightly different. I mean, really small, but slightly different.
So
a few weeks ago, we were taking a wilder guess. This, the
So
accountant and I settled on the actual numbers this morning.
So I think you're looking for a motion to approve this article with numbers placed in it by the town accountant and treasurer.
Okay.
Does that
Do
make
I have
sense?
Yep. Do I have a motion to
So move.
adopt the reserves as presented with exact numbers to be added at a later time by the town accountant?
As you
And
said,
or-
so move.
Yes. Do I have
Second.
a second? I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, John Stevens, aye. Kristen,
Aye.
Justin,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
Ken,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Sandy,
Aye.
Brooke.
Aye.
I declare the motion to carry unanimously.
Okay, so
The next,
the next two are your bond payment ones, which we probably can do together. Ken, are these numbers correct?
Okay,
I can't imagine these changed.
it should be 66.5 and 75.6.
we're missing a 5.
Yeah. And we've got it, it's written out right, but I have to change.
Okay, $75,600 for the second one.
Right.
Do I have a motion to accept the Pell bond
So moved.
payment and the Grafton Townhouse payment? I have a motion
So moved.
and a second by, it sounded like Justin. Any further discussion? All those in favor? John Stevens, aye. Kristen,
Aye.
Justin,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
Ken,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Sandy,
Aye.
Brooke.
Aye.
Declare the motion to carry unanimously.
Okay. So then we get into the sunset provision extension. So I wrote one for Cisco Homestead, giving them another 2 years. The Lions Club, giving them another 2 years. Weights and Measures, I gave them another 2 years as well. And Paul, I think we can, what was the decision on the Grafton Common? Have you?
You can remove it. It's not necessary.
The money will be spent by the 30th of June.
All we have to do is hire the general contractor, and then all funds that have been approved are considered to be encumbered.
Okay.
And we do plan to have a contractor in place before that date.
All right. Makes sense.
Okay,
So I think you can do one motion to approve the 3 articles dealing with sunset provision extensions as written.
So moved.
okay, so I have a motion to extend the sunset for Cisco Homestead by 2 years, by Lions Club by 2 years, and Weights and Measures by 2 years, all 3 expiring June 30th, 2023. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, John Stevens, aye. Kristen,
Aye.
Justin,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
Ken,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Sandy,
Aye.
Brooke.
Aye.
Okay, so then you're left with 3 more articles. The first one I have is the one for the Lions Club Park rehabilitation work. The other one was for the field investigation at 17,000, and then the New England Village one I had written for 83,000.
And that one is now
32.5, right?
on my paper.
That's what I remember voting on, yes.
32.5.
And
Okay. So are we taking these individually, Joanne?
You can do the 3 of them together. You would just want the motion to read the Lions Club rehabilitation project in the amount of, if you could give me each of the amounts, that's what's key.
Okay.
and what's the terminology we should use to allow you and Ken to pick the
Oh,
funds?
the funding source, thank you very much. Probably a motion that says something along the lines of, I move to approve the Lions Club project in the amount of, field investigation in the amount of, New England Village in the amount of, with the treasurer having authority to identify funding sources.
All right, I'd like to make a motion worded just the way you need it.
Okay,
For the
so I have a
3 of them.
motion to appropriate $175,835 for the Lions Club Dauphin Park Rehabilitation Park proposal $17,000 for the field investigation documentation of invasive weed infestation project, and $32,500 for the New England Village Park at Whitney Park, with exact dollar amounts to be determined, or exact funding sources to be determined by the CPC treasurer.
Second.
I have a motion and a second by Justin. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Paul?
So when we were talking about this on the floor, I thought we had agreed to put another $1,000 in it, assuming that they wouldn't get their funding. So I thought that would bring it to 18.
No,
I
I
misunderstand that?
believe the 17 is the full amount.
Okay, as
Is
long
that-
as that's the case.
I think that's correct, that they had asked for 17. And then I said that, if we're gonna have a net 16 because of their 1,000, there was a concern that perhaps that might not show up. So
Okay, as long as it's
to
there, that's all I'm.
make sure it's fully funded, 17,000.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Hearing none. John Stevens, aye. Kristen,
Aye.
Justin,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
Ken,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Sandy,
Aye.
Brooke.
Aye.
Declare the motion carried unanimously.
Okay,
Is that
Thank
it?
you.
Promotions. Thank you.
that's
Okay.
it. Yeah.
For project updates, do you want to just run down the list quickly? A minute or two, if somebody has information on it. Open space recreation, it sounds like that's a couple months away. Institute Woods,
I've asked Chris McGoldrick and he's looking into it.
okay. Town records, probably no update.
No.
Historic gravestones, no update. Grafton Common Restoration, Paul,
We are currently out to bid.
great.
So very excited after 2 years to get it there.
And
And much longer for the project to get it to this point.
When are the
We
RFPs
opted
done?
for a 3-week window for them to submit their bids. We're going to be doing a walkthrough. I actually don't have the dates in front of me. Andy is going to be sending me those, but he already has them scheduled. So
Okay, so less than 3 weeks.
Yes, less than 3 weeks. So Monday was the start of the 3 weeks, I believe. It was either Monday or Tuesday.
Okay, good. Weights and measures, it's just a matter of getting it moved in after the library's ready for it to be moved. Historical resources inventory, that's another follow-up on with Chris. Has he secured that money from Mass Historical yet? Do you know, Joanne? Okay. Lions Club engineering work,
Dennis said that both of those Lions Club were the same as last month.
okay. Cisco, I'm sure is the same
Correct.
with winter. Emergency rental, I think we just heard that the bulk of the money was returned. Only a few thousand was spent, 35 maybe. And recreation, ADA projects, Kristen?
We don't have anything new to report on that at this point.
Okay. All right. Unless anyone has something else that may be legally
Adjourned.
added to our agenda, we'll let Mr. Jim adjourn us. I have a motion and a second. John Stevens, aye. Kristen, sorry.
Aye.
You're supposed to be able to read my mind. Justin,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye, I read your mind.
Ken.
He's
Ken, drop.
muted. I
Ken,
saw his mouth move.
Ken
Said
is
aye.
muted. Ken, I think he said aye.
Yes, he did.
He did. He definitely
Jim.
said aye.
Aye.
Jim, Sandy.
Aye.
Brooke.
Aye.
Brooke, it's late. Thank you, everybody.